Hi, I'm Roberto Martinez and you're watching Toffee TV.
Welcome to Toffee TV. We're here to talk about John Stones. It's getting us all a little bit angry, all a bit hot under the collar. It's typical pre-season stuff, but Mourinho's muddied the waters. Let's get a little bit of a time frame on this. Thursday night into Friday morning, John Stones was quoted as saying he's happy at Everton. He wants to stay at Everton. He's happy to see, you know, his career progress at Everton as a young player. He likes playing with Phil Jagielka. Blah de blah de blah. Press conference. Roberto Martinez has asked the questions. What is happening with John Stones? Basically says, bottom line, John Stones is not going anywhere. Jose Mourinho comes out and he says, well, we've put a bid in, 20 million, no problem. Everton have said, we reject your bid, but they haven't said he's not for sale. So Baz's muddied the waters massively there. He's basically, he knew what he was doing, let's put it that way. He knew what he was doing. He has basically said to Everton, or basically said to the press, or said to the fans, it's up to them to say he's not for sale, and they haven't done that. So he knows exactly what he's doing.
It's the master.
Yeah.
The master of mind games, the master
definitely.
of doing his business through the press if he wants to. It's about creating a momentum, I think, and I think obviously Everton are portrayed in the media, rightly or wrongly, as being skint. Let's not make any bones about it. And what's the best way to put pressure on that? Test the resolve by doing your business through the papers.
When you say pressure, who's he putting pressure on though? Because the club have said John Stones is not for sale. So who do you think he's trying to put the pressure on there?
I think he's putting pressure on the club. Because if Everton have said he's not for sale, and we're led to believe that's exactly what they've said, what else can he be doing? He's trying to force their hand. He's trying to say, what he's indicating is that they're coming back. That, you know, they've been sold 20 million. Okay, we'll go back. He says we've got until the 1st of September. So he's kind of saying we can mess with you up until September the 1st when the window slams shut. And you know what the papers are like. You know, the media try and sell our players at the best of the time, whether they're going or they're not. You know, whether they're staying or they're going, whatever. John Stones, Chelsea are champions. London club, they've got loads and loads of press behind them, and there will be a media movement that tries to almost force Everton's hand.
But how do you think that will affect the club? Because really, if the club have come out and said John Stones is not for sale, then he's not for sale. So how do you think that would work out? Because I mean, I'm struggling to understand. Well, I'm not struggling to understand his motivations. His motivations is he wants to buy John Stones. So is he trying to make John Stones feel like Everton are open to offers? So by there, he's trying to put the thought into John Stones' head that Everton actually are willing to sell, because they haven't said no definitively, and cast that doubt in the player's mind.
I think clubs always look to cast doubt in players' mind, don't they? Because you want the player. He wants the player. John Stones, for me, the best young centre half, not only in England. I reckon he's probably, you know, or he's going to be. You know, his potential. Let's, you know, not get ahead of ourselves. Potentially, he looks like he's going to be one of the best centre halves in Europe in terms of ball playing ability and everything else. So he's saying, we're champions. Got all this money and you're the person we're coming after, you know, and we want you, and we're prepared to come back in with 2 and 3 and 4 offers. The perception we have of John Stones, he's level-headed, he's a nice young lad, he seems to love playing for Everton, he says all the right things, he's never phased. So for us, we've just got to be hopeful that that's still going on. So if he's clever, which he is, he knows they're going to be coming back in for him next year, the year after. There's no.
He's massaging the ego, then, isn't he, more than anything else? Now, it's come out today, or certainly Monday night. It's Monday morning that Everton have written to Chelsea and basically said he's not for sale, and that's the end of it. So it's no wonder Roberto Martinez was angry when the bid has come in, because if we're led to believe that this letter came in before the bid, maybe an inquiry was put in and Everton just rejected it wholeheartedly and said he's not for sale. They've made that known. So the 20 million bid has probably made Roberto Martinez quite angry, because he knows what he's trying to do. He's trying to unsettle the player, of course he is. And I think he's trying to unsettle the fans as well, because I think
Ours don't take much.
Exactly,
Ours
it's
don't need
you know
much.
it doesn't take much, does it? Let's be honest out there, it doesn't take much. You only have to go look through some of the responses on Twitter. People already are resigned to losing him and resigned to who's going to replace him, and already criticising the players who are going to replace him, and there is that resignation that he's already gone, and I don't understand that, because I think that plays its part in these things, almost like, you know, it's almost like, you know, the media's very clever about this. When Rooney was getting sold, there was issues with stories appearing in certain newspapers, and that sort of led to people saying, well, how dare he put stories in a certain newspaper. It helped fuel the anger, so that when he was sold, it wasn't, you know, it was at the player and not the club. And
it's all very well thought out. The whole process is very well thought out. They know what they're doing. The agents will play the part. I'm not in any way saying that John Stones' agent is playing any kind of part in it, but you know, this is what happens in football. And yeah, you're talking about Everton need to be or Everton have been definitive in saying that, you know, releasing this or sending a letter to Chelsea rather. I mean, I think John Stones' comments, I would say, quite interesting on Thursday night, Friday morning. He was aware of the bid.
Definitely.
So he then come out and said, my future's at Everton, which is fantastic to hear. But I don't know about you. I mean, what's your gut feeling? What's your gut feeling?
I think Everton have not backed themselves into a corner, but I think what they've done is they've got the player to say something, the manager has said something, and now I would like the club, and a lot of people say, well, this doesn't need to happen, but I would like the club to just come out and say, and really, listen, put it to the public. They started the spat in public, so let's respond in public. I know Roberto Martinez and the club love to put themselves on this gentlemanly pedestal, but sometimes it's, you know, in a fight, it's the guy who throws mud in the other fella's eye who's going to win the fight. And I think Everton have to be clever and come out.
As if the other's got a gun.
Well, even though, you know, you've got a gun, you throw a bit of mud in their eye and you take the gun off them and put them down with their own gun if you want. You know, you've watched enough films, Baz, come on. I think Everton have got to be very clever here. I think they've got to go to the public. Bill Kenwright using all his connections, Jim White and all that. Sky would love it if Bill come on and just went, listen, we love this lad. This lad's the future. He's a future Everton captain. You know, get it out there. Get it out there and say, we will not be bullied, because you know what? Sky would love that and football would love that. And I know a lot of people out there will go, well, why would they do that? Because we'll sell them. But if that's what the club want to do, that's what I think the club should do. And also though, just one more thing, I think they should do that, because it does put all the naysayers down. I think it would make the club fantastic. And you know what? That might only be for this summer, but I think it's the right thing to do.
I think the problem with that is we kind of said these things when Wayne Rooney was getting banned. You know, he's not going, he's not for sure, we love him, and he ended up going. So I think you can only really say it to be honest, I think if John Stones goes to Everton and says, look, I don't care, I'm not leaving, I'm happy, then I think you can come out and
he should have said that, hasn't he? See, this is the interesting thing. A lot of football fans out there, a lot of Everton fans will know what we're talking about, where when Wayne Rooney went, he never actually came out and said, I want to stay here or anything like that. The club said he was staying, so it created this idea that Wayne Rooney had pushed himself out the club, forced himself out the club, pushed for a move. Now that may not be the truth. We'll never know on that. But the way the transfer was made to look was he forced as well the club. Very well done. So I understand what you're saying. In that. But if he is staying and he wants to stay and the club is saying he's staying, then come out and just put a statement out there and say we won't be bullied. Do you know what? A lot of football fans would love that. A lot of football fans would be very happy with that. They don't want to see all the best talent leaving their club.
The media do.
The media do.
Just
but also though,
all the best players in 3 clubs.
Of course they do. But the media also love a story, a narrative, a flip-flop.
As long as he doesn't do a Fabian.
Well, that's what I was about to say. You create stuff. Media have to fill papers, blogs, 24-hour news channels. They love all this. If it's one side playing against the other, They love it. So it would. I don't think it'd do Everton any harm to come out and just say he's not going anywhere. Don't do it through the back channels. Don't do it through like, you know.
But they can't, some people are saying they have. Stones has said it, Martinez has said it. There's a letter in the or there's a story that a local journalist has written.
But he's muddied the waters.
Of course he has,
because he's put that out there afterwards, and he's all.
Yeah, but Everton have responded with that story that's appeared in the paper last night.
But that's a story that you are right. But what I'm saying is, do it properly. Get Bill or Robert Elston in front of a camera and say, listen, he's the future. He's a captain. We want him here, and he's staying.
If that's the narrative, if that's what Everton is saying, because otherwise, if it isn't, they're not going to do that. Because if we may have a problem if Chelsea come back and say, well, we'll give you £40 million for him, and I've seen people say, well, sell a $40 million.
Well, let's talk about that now. So we're talking about John Stones. You've just mentioned there about £40 million bids or £35 million bids, whatever it would be. Now, that's a lot of money, and a lot of people would say, with that money you can rebuild your squad, and it's just one player, and for one player you can bring in 6 players. And we've seen other clubs successfully do it. We've seen Liverpool do it in the last couple of summers, where they've sold one player, and from those 2 players now, they have basically rebuilt an entire squad.
32 players in,
which is great. But I think we're going to tell you why that's not such a good idea. Well, I'm going to tell you why it's not a good idea. Right. Well, I'll tell you why.
You go.
I'll tell you why I don't think it's a good idea, right? We are coming in now to very, very close. We are less than 3 weeks away from the start of the Premier League season. Now, this is something that gets bandied about all the time about players and when you buy players. A lot of people will tell you there's still 6 weeks left of the transfer window. Listen, if you're buying someone and they're your first choice and you haven't bought them by now, they're gone. They already play for another team, as far as I'm concerned. They've already been snapped up. All the best young talent has been snapped up, I would say. If you had started with a list, I'm afraid those players are going to be gone by now. If you've got 35 million or 40 million in your pocket also, you are going to get a player who last week was 10 million and this week is 15 to 20 million. That's how the market works, obviously. What Liverpool have successfully done, or what they've managed to do in the last couple of years, is they've had a couple of players that they knew they were selling. Let's get it right. They knew they were selling Suarez and they knew they were selling Sterling. They identified the targets they wanted. They knew what kind of money was coming in, or what kind of money was coming in. They knew the lowest. Anyway, they knew the lowest they were going to get for that player. And they went out and they bought players. Now, 2 things that does. Number 1, you get them for the price you want. Well, 3 things actually. You get them for the price you want. You get the first choice player that you want on your list, and you get them in early as well. You get what you want at the price you want when you want. There are massive things that you can do with that kind of money. And there's a 4th thing.
Is that me talking?
No, the 4th thing. Well, you can come in now. The 4th thing is, it means when you sell that player, there isn't a mass fume. There isn't a mass panic. There isn't a mass, debate. You've just brought 6 players in that all your fans are excited about, and you've just let one go. You do it the other way, you end up with a Lescott scenario. You get to the last day of the season, and last day of the transfer window, and you've got Distan, Billy Eletanoff, and John Heitinger, and those 3 clubs seeing you coming with that £20 million in your back pocket, and that's the difference for me. There's a time when you can sell a player, but it's got to be the right time, and that's what will happen one day with John Stones, I think, but it shouldn't be now. Baz!
Hey, I'm getting a go. I think the other thing as well for John Stones is, if in 12 months' time this kid will be worth more than he is now. We're going into a European Championships next summer. Okay, that might be a little bit defeatist saying, but who knows what'll happen this season. But in 12 months he might be worth £50 million, or what you might get in 12 months is you might get United, you might get City, you might get Arsenal, them kind of teams coming in who want to start bouncing players off, and they might offer you 35 million plus a player who you think we can use him and still. So that's another reason really in terms of not selling him for 12 months. I think all the things you've said are right. The only counter argument I would take in terms of the players who you might want to bring in he will have players on his list who he knows he wants, knows we can't afford, and also kind of knows that at this moment in time their teams aren't prepared to let them go. But as we get closer to a window, I'm talking about his first window when we brought in Lukaku, we brought in McCarthy, we brought in Gareth Barry on deadline day. Those three players, with the Gareth Barry was a little bit of a difference, but the other two weren't going anywhere up until Wigan weren't selling McCarthy until that figure was matched. Chelsea didn't really want to get rid of Lukaku until the last minute. So he may have players who are at those kind of clubs, Man City, United, whatever, Barcelona, who he knows that a couple of days before the end of the window they're getting a bit tetchy, they're getting a bit I want to play, and we may have a facility to bring those players in. But like you said, if you say we keep John Stones, say John Stones sits down with Martinez and says, you know what, Gaffer, next 12 months time I'm going to want to move on because I want to challenge for trophies. I'll give you another 12 months. I love Everton, but I'm thinking of my career. I can't see any way how you're going to break in, whatever. So therefore Everton then realistically should start having those conversations in March with Chelsea, with City, whatever. Then you can sell him, or rather Everton can then say to the bank or whatever, we're getting 45 million pound on July the 1st. We want an advance because we want to buy X, Y and Z. And it doesn't negate that fume, it negates everyone. To be honest, I don't think you're ever going to negate the fume over Stones, because I think everybody genuinely loves the fella. I think if you offered McCarthy, Coleman or Stones to leave, I think Stones will be the one everyone says keep, because he's just that kind of fella. You feel everyone just loves him. But the reality is, where we are, unless we become a Man City or we get a rich billionaire, this is going to be Everton's reality. And Everton's reality is, the minute we get players who are upper level on other players we've got, we're going to lose them.
But like you've just said there, next summer, for so many different reasons, and I'll mention the reasons now, it makes more sense to say, and you even say to the player, in 12 months time you'll have had a full season at Everton, you're Everton's new number 5, there's already a suggestion you're playing every week. Everyone knows you're going to be playing every week. We haven't even replaced the 2 centre backs we've let go already.
But that's because the fella who wanted to come in wasn't going to be playing every week. Well, hence why he got off to London.
There you go. There's another reason why you don't sell John Stones. But in 12 months' time, he could have a very, very successful Euros under his belt. The TV deal comes in, which automatically makes every player's value go up anyway, because there's going to be more money slushing around in the Premier League. I know that doesn't really matter to someone like Chelsea, but it does for a club like Everton, who are going to be a selling club. He's going to have that extra year, under his belt.
Let me ask you then, is it, and I've seen the wonderful John Meadow making this comment on his Twitter feed, and if anyone hasn't got onto John Meadow's Twitter feed, just get on it, because basically he's just amazing.
He's amazing. We love him.
He's definitely coming in.
Big fans of the Meadow, yeah.
Meadowed up, t-shirt with Meadow. But he kind of made an interesting point, is that this window may be the only window over the next 4 or 5 years where Chelsea get a free run at John Stones, because other teams, United were sniffing around them in May and were given the same kind of brush off as what Chelsea have had, and they've kind of gone away and gone.
Are you trying to say that other clubs have got more class than Chelsea?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Oh, well, I am.
I'm saying there's a way to do things, and
well, there you go.
It hasn't happened. But that's the whole thing, is that Chelsea are probably trying to force this, because next summer, who knows, Man City will probably realise that Mangala basically is pants and they need another centre half, and then they don't get that free run, they get pushed up, and if Everton and John Stones can, look, for me it comes down to the kid. If the kid says I'm going nowhere, Everton will say, right, fair enough, that's good enough for us, and that he just has to have that conversation.
See, I don't agree. I think it comes down to the club. That's my opinion, is it comes down to the club. I think if Everton just say you're not going anywhere to the kid, he stays regardless of what he wants. And I think if he's got, like you mentioned before, he does seem to have a good head on his, on his shoulders. He'll be looking at 12 months' time and thinking, I'm going to be third choice at Chelsea, because he is. Let's be honest, he is. Mourinho's still going to play Terry every single week. He might come in for Cahill, and that, okay, he is going to.
Imagine a scenario where Gary Cahill gets in before John Stones. Gary Cahill shouldn't get in before Bobby Cahill. He plays in the under-12s on.
But the point is Stones will play a year, and at the end of the year for Everton could have a big opportunity of playing in his first major championships. He should certainly go anyway. So his first major championships.
And he'll have just won the Carling Cup and the FA Cup.
Yeah, he'll have the world, literally have the world at his feet. He could have all kinds trying to chase him around Europe and around Britain. He could alert all the biggest names. He could have. I'm not exaggerating here when I say someone like Real Madrid could look at him next year if he has a good, because that's what they're like. That's what those
just give us Ramos as well.
Someone like Barcelona, if you, let's say he had a Bosch here, someone like Barcelona could go, he is perfect for us. He is a footballer who plays at the back. People out there might be just talking and going, you're talking nonsense.
Imagine though if they went, we want Stones, you take PK, and Shakira sat in the players' wives' boxes.
Shakira. But
John's hips.
No one at Everton would go, John, you're not going to Barcelona or you're not going to Real Madrid. We'd be like, T and R, packing the lad off with his suitcase and his sandwiches.
He'd be gone, and Sergio Roberto, Adama Traore, Shakira, I mean PK, all coming the other way.
Listen, I don't think he's going to go anywhere unless the club seriously buckle. But tell us what you think in the comments below. Don't forget on Twitter as well, at ToffeeTV1. Make sure you're subscribing to all our videos. Tell us what you think about John Stones. Is he staying? Is he going? Is he staying for life? Should you give him the captaincy? They've already given him the number 5.
He's got his own hashtag.
Stones. Solid. Tell us what you think about John Stones. Are you seriously worried, or is he staying at Everton? Tell us. We'll be back soon.